Well, it is my honor and blessing to introduce Todd and Ann Zims. We've been just partnering with their ministry for many, many years, and they've been instrumental in keeping people alive. I don't know if you're aware of this. We can laugh, but I'm dead serious. Like, they have kept people alive. And, you know, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And one of those aspects of Jesus is life. And in order for people to accept him in this life, they have to be alive. So they are key in evangelism. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're keeping people alive, literally, physically alive, through their ministry. And they do a lot more than just that. They have been instrumental in discipling people and bringing people to Jesus. And so we're just so excited. Would you please welcome Todd and Ann Zims?
Thank you.
Buona Safiwe. That's the greeting that most Christians will use in Tanzania. Buona Safiwe, and your response would be Amen. Buona Safiwe means praise the Lord. So pray, Buona Safiwe.
Amen.
I forgot Swahili already. Well, I did. As many of you know, I am not fluent in Swahili, and I never will be. So, but
You do an okay job.
I love her.
It's such a privilege to be here today. So thank you all very much for having us come. For those of you that don't know us, we've been in Tanzania for 20 years, or the first time we went was 20 years ago. And if you don't know where Tanzania is, there's a map up there with a red circle around it, and that's where we spend most of our time. Let's give you, if we go to the next slide, then I want to just give you a little bit of an idea of why we do what we do. And this verse has become our theme verse for ourselves and also for our organization, Serving Our Neighbor. And it says, it's found in Revelations 22:17, and the Spirit and the bride say, come, and let him who hears say, come. Whoever is thirsty, let him come, and whoever wishes, let him take the free gift of the water of life. So the Spirit is obviously the Holy Spirit. The bride is us, the church as a whole. But everyone else who hears, and that's each one of you individually, me, Todd, our family, each of you, that means it's your responsibility too, to say come. Invite people to come and know Jesus, the living water. People come. It's not up to us to make them drink of that living water. That's up to the Holy Spirit. But it's our job to say come and give them the opportunity to learn how wonderful Jesus is and that he truly is the living water. So that's why we do what we do. So to give you a little bit of history, in 2001, 20 years ago, we took our first short-term trip to Tanzania. And in that picture up there, some of you may recognize some of those faces. We all look the same, of course. We did things that you do on typical short-term mission trips. We did prayer walking. We worked in a refugee camp. We painted schools or classrooms and played with children, that kind of thing. Todd and I really felt that God was calling us into full-time ministry at that time. We didn't really know what that meant. So we started exploring options. And then we went to Tanzania again with a different team in 2002. And you can see that team up there. And then we were a little bit more intentional about using water or the living water of Jesus for our ministry. And that's when we did our first seminar, telling people about clean water and why it was so important and that Jesus was the living water. And you can see a picture of that seminar there. There was lots of people in this little tiny room. And we naively thought that we would teach them all these things and then they would just take it and go with it and everything would be fine. Well, things don't really work that way. So God really got a hold of our hearts and we made a decision to leave our homes here in Brighton, Michigan and move to Tanzania. And in February of 2004, well, before that, a lot of very interesting things happened in the year 2003. We call it the year of learning. Some of you also will remember those times. Those were very challenging and difficult times for us, but we also really learned to love the Lord. And he had a lot of things to teach us before we actually moved to Tanzania. We took our last skiing trip in February of 2004, and then we moved to Tanzania, and it was a lot warmer. The other picture that you see there is our family today. We have an addition. My daughter Madison was married 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And so we have another addition to our family, and it's been wonderful to be able to spend some time with them over the last few weeks. So to give you an update, and there's lots of things we only have so much time, so I can't just talk about everything.
Go ahead.
But one of the things that has happened since we were here last is in 2019, we received official charitable status with the organization in Tanzania. Before that, we didn't really know that we needed charitable status. We thought we already had it, but they informed us that no, you have to go through this process. And so we did, and before we came here in 2019, we had been going every week to the TRA, which is the equivalent of the IRS, to see if our charitable status had been approved. And of course, every time we went, it hadn't. So then we came to the US for a time, and we went back, and we were like, okay, well, let's just go and see. Maybe it's happened. And the two people that we were working closely with at the TRA were these two guys that we call them the Sundays, because both of their first name was Sunday. So we said, let's go see the Sundays. And we walked into Sunday's office, and he said, what did you bring me from America? And we just smiled and said, well, we're here. And he said, your application has been approved. And we were just blown away because we really didn't expect it. We just expected him to say, no, nothing's changed.
And Sun Tanzania was the only organization in the Morogoro area that did get approved that year.
So that was pretty cool. So God was really, really in that. So what do we do in Tanzania? Besides sit in government offices and go try to get things done, we spend a lot of time doing that. Our main focus surrounds the Biosand water filter. The Biosand water filter filters drinking water, and you can see a picture of it up there with the family. That's what it looks like. You can see the inside of it. Many of you are familiar with this as well. It's on your shirt. Oh, okay. You pour water in the top of it. It runs down through the sand and the gravel and then comes back up a pipe that's embedded in the concrete into a clean water bucket. So it's very simple. There's no moving parts. It's very easy to use. It's really hard to do anything wrong. And that's what we spend a lot of our time doing, is making these. If you go to the next slide. So this is our workshop. You can see how some of the processes, we use concrete a lot. We play with sand a lot. I can remember my parents, they said, well, we sent you to school and you have this degree and now all you do is play with sand and water like you did when you were 5. And I just laughed. I'm like, okay, that's true. So we do make the filters. We make the concrete molds on the outside. It's a process. Then the most important part of the filter is the sand that goes on the inside. And so you can see that in the next slide. We have a machine. It's called our sand sorter, where we separate the big sand from the little sand and the small gravel, and we wash it to be the right size. So that's really the most important part of the process. And because we want to make sure that the filters that we're providing to the community are good and that they meet the requirements to have good drinking water. So after we have the filters, after we make the filters and we make the stuff that goes inside of them, then what do we do with them? Well, we take them to people's homes and we install them. Oh, before we do that, we have to teach them about the biosand filters. So we do what we call training and awareness sessions. And as part of these sessions, we share about Jesus, the living water. We talk about how God made the world and how just like your water gets dirty, your heart gets dirty from sin. And then how do we clean your water? Well, you can use the biosand water filter. Well, how do you clean your heart or your soul? Well, Jesus Christ can do that, and he's the only way. So we incorporate that message into the teaching. It's not a big loudspeaker evangelism. It's not a crusade. It's simply our trainers sharing their heart and their own experience with Jesus. And so that has a pretty big impact because there is a lot of people standing on street corners in big crusades that happen in Tanzania. And there's nothing wrong with that, but people sometimes tend to just tone them out and not pay attention. And when you're talking to smaller groups one-on-one, it's much easier to really share your heart that way. So once you have someone comes to a seminar, then we take the filters and we install them in their homes. And you can see some of the pictures here. Some of these pictures are older, some of them are newer. There's sometimes lots of mud, there's sometimes lots of mountains. It makes it difficult to install them. We have trolleys that we use. We also have actually like a hammock sling thing that sometimes we use to go up on the mountains. It can be quite the process and quite rewarding as well. Go to the next slide. Oh, yeah, there we go. So this is a video that will explain one of the biosand water recipients.
My name is and lives in Imunga village at Chiwana Street. I started using the biosand water filter services since 2016. I'm very happy since I received this service. There are so many benefits from using the biosand water filter. First, it reduced the cost of using charcoal, time you could have spent on boiling water. Mostly, what gives me a peace of mind is when I ask the children to boil water, they don't do it right. But they will tell you they did it right and ending up with waterborne diseases. But now, I trust the biosand water filter. I put my 10 liters of water to get safe drinking water. Truly, I'm very happy for that. On the other side, when we use the drink unclean water, one, we faced high cost of treatment, lack of being able to work, high cost of medication, and so many disadvantages. But when you are using Sun's biosand water filter, things are going well. I'm very happy. One of the other persons who is benefiting from this is my parents. They are living in Singida. I managed to transport it. They are very happy about it. And so many are benefiting from the ministry, and still more people need to receive it. Just continue to do more basic seminars. When we educate more people, we create awareness and encourage them to believe in biosand water filters. People need to see it, try it, and believe it. In Tanzania, many people lack access to clean water, clean drinking water. One biosand water filter can save many lives. Visit and join us today at Sun-International. Sun, serving our neighbor.
They can. So I'd also like to share with you another story about a Maasai family. If you look in this picture, you see the woman there. She's digging water from a shallow well that she has dug out of the sand surrounding their main water source, which we call a bwawa, which is basically rainwater that's stored in a location. And she gets her water and she puts the bucket on her head and walks back to her home, which is in the next picture. There you go. So this is her family. And you can see there's multiple generations there. And this is a typical Maasai family. They usually have 2 or 3 homes that are in a circle around each other, and they kind of live in community. The cool story about this Maasai family is that the son, who lives in town and is married to a French woman, her name is Fanny, lives up the mountain from us. So they know about us, they know about our ministry, and they have a biosand filter at their home. So one day, Ibrahim came out to the workshop with his car and said, I'm going to visit my parents tomorrow. You need to put one of these filters in my car so I can take it to them because they really need it. And we were just like kind of blown away because he'd never done anything like that before. And most Tanzanians don't do that. And so actually what he had come to the workshop to purchase the filter for his family that lived in the village about 20 kilometers away. And we were very excited because, we're trying to make the work that we do a little bit more sustainable, but it's very difficult for a lot of Tanzanians, first because of the poverty, but also just because they're used to people giving them everything. And so when someone who could actually afford it and he was buying it for someone else was just really amazing for us. So we certainly did what he wanted and put the filter in his car. And the next day he picked up one of our technicians, and our technician went with him and installed the filter in his parents' house. And so it was just for us, it was a really great story. We do work with the Maasai a lot. That's the first time anything like that has ever happened. So we were really, really excited about that. Yep. Another person I'd like to tell you about that has received a filter recently, his name is Mr. Jibu. Jibu means answer in Swahili. And if you look at his sign there, the top part of his sign is in English, and it says Jibu Shopping Center. Underneath that, what it tells you is that he's offering clean water 24 hours a day. So if you would like to come to the Jibu Shopping Center and get clean water from his BioSan water filter that he's selling, and you can get it anytime you want. So we just thought that was very cool, because you can see his shopping center is very big there. He has limes and coconuts and clean water. So that's Mr. Jibu. But we don't do this all on our own. We have a team. And now the Sun team actually has 22 employees and several volunteers, either between, I'd say 3 or 5 volunteers, depending upon the time of year and what other people are doing. So we're really, we're amazed that God has done this, because remember, 20 years ago we went and there were 4 of us, and we were working with another missionary family there. So it's just been incredible experience for us, and we just sometimes can't believe everything that God is doing. Let me introduce you to a few of our staff members. The first one is Charles. Some of you remember we talked about Charles when we were here last time a few years ago. Charles is a really great young man. Our daughters think that he's our Tanzanian son, and he kind of is, but he's also really stepped up, and while we're here, he's basically running everything in Tanzania. We're very, very blessed to have him. We wish we had about 5 more people like him. He has a heart for the Lord. He understands the vision and mission of Sun International and Sun Tanzania, and he's an extremely hard worker and very resourceful. You can see him in the middle with an old man there. That's his father, Pastor Alphonse. For quite a long time, him and his father, Pastor Alphonse, were not speaking to each other for lots and lots of reasons, which I won't go into. And last year, or the beginning of this year, he actually reconciled with his father. So we were just so thrilled with that, because it was really difficult for us and for him, because there was lots of bitterness. So we're really, really excited about that. And you can also see, in the corner picture there, is Charles with our dog Simba. Simba lives at our house, not at our workshop. We received a picture last week from Mr. Charles telling us that Simba had his biggest kill yet, and it was this huge rat that was laying on the ground.
When you say huge, it was at least a foot long.
So that was Simba's biggest kill. So you understand why we have Simba.
I have a picture on my telephone if you want to see.
So Charles he's basically facilitating the Morogoro workshop, and also does a lot of the administrative work for the other 2 workshops. So I'd like to introduce you next, in the next video, to our newest member of the Sun team. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Godfrey James. I'm a new staff in Sun, Tanzania. I like working with Sun because it has good cooperation with me, but also it has got good cooperation with the community. The very good thing that Sun is doing is saving different people from different waterborne diseases. It is providing different water filters, like these ones now. We have done a package which will be taken to different people tomorrow. So I like Sun because it has good cooperation with us in Tanzania. But also, Sun has got different programs. For instance, the program for WASH. But also there is another program of teaching different students in different schools the way on how to behave so as they may become good people, they may have good prosperity for their future. So that's why I like working with the Son. Thank you for being with us. May God bless you.
So Godfrey is, like I said, he's our newest member. He's very young, and we were very impressed because English is certainly not his first language, and he did that whole little speech all on his own without any input for us. He was, at the end there, he was talking about our puberty program, but he couldn't really remember the right word. So he wanted to re-record it, and I said, no, this is just perfect. So that's Godfrey. Let me introduce you to a few of our other staff members. This is Nuhu. Nuhu is one of our biosand filter technicians. You see him there with his family, his little girl Rebecca, and his new son, whose name is Watson. And I asked him, why Watson? And he said, well, I got to name Rebecca, and my wife got to name our son, so she called him Watson, and that was his answer.
And Nuhu means Noah in Swahili.
Yep.
And so we have him take care of our animals, the dogs on the workshop.
Nuhu has really matured a lot over the years. Before, when he first worked with us, he was not married and had no children, and that comes with responsibility. And it's also, we've also seen a huge. He's just become very, very more mature, both in his work and with his spiritual life. He actually is responsible for the youth program at his church. So next I'd like to introduce you to Dennis Mignani. Dennis is our outreach and training facilitator. He's also an Anglican pastor. You see him there with his wife and doing some of the teaching. We really depend on Dennis a lot. He's a great guy. He has a tremendous heart for the Lord. Unfortunately, he's getting ready to retire, so we're looking to replace him, but not yet. We still have some time, but at least he's giving us some warning. Retirement age in Tanzania is 60, and almost everyone retires at 60. We're really blessed to have Dennis as part of our team. One of my best trainers, her name is Joyce. I've talked with you maybe about her before. She's had a very difficult life, but she's really done a tremendous job. She gets very excited teaching both adults and children, and she's very good at what she does. One of the things that has happened in July, she actually completed the equivalent of her GED. The first 2 years she did on her own, and that was, we helped her with, but then last year to actually complete the whole process, she did it on her own. She was working full-time, and she took the exam, and she just got her results in July just before we came back. So we're really excited for her.
Yeah, most people will go through the 10th grade, which is like Form 4, and then go off to work. And she wanted to finish her Form 6, so which is, like I said, is equivalent of high school.
So we're really, really proud of her. The next person I'd like to introduce you to is Rahab. You see her there with her children, her 4 children. And Rahab has a heart to teach children, and that's what she does best. She also teaches about the biosand water filter. Before she came to work with us officially, she's a good friend of mine, and she says, Ann, I want to work with the children. I can do the training, but I am not going to make filters. I'm not going to do that. But there you see her in the picture. She's changed her mind. And so when we need help out in the workshop, she's always willing to step up and help, and she does a great job. We love her dearly. One of the things that she does is our kids club, which we have, right now we have it at our workshop. When we go back, we're going to move it to the church where her and her husband are planting, which is about a kilometer from our workshop. And we think that that's a more appropriate place for the children, and it will be a better impact into the community. So, yeah. And then, who else do I have up there? Oh, yeah. One of the things that Rahab is responsible for is the WASH, water sanitation and hygiene training. So she organizes that. This year we've taught in 4 primary schools in Morogoro Town. The lessons are, we have 7 lessons, or it's a curriculum of 7 lessons. So that means we go once a week to each school and teach for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So about 50 kids, 25 in each classroom. So, and then we also have what we call our puberty program, which Rahab is really helped with this, helping to organize it, got a lot of our younger staff members involved in it, some of our volunteers. It also has been making a tremendous impact in some of the local schools. We've heard some wonderful reports from the teachers, how kids have really changed their behavior, both because of the WASH training and the puberty training. So these are really effective programs, and we're really blessed to be able to teach them. I'd also like to introduce you to Emmanuel. Emmanuel has his own workshop in northern Tanzania. It's a 24-hour drive. That means 24 hours without stopping, so 2 days in the car to get from Morogoro to Bukoba. You see a picture of his family there. Emmanuel has a wonderful heart for the Lord. He is an amazing guy, but he doesn't like to communicate with us very much, so we sometimes get frustrated with him. This year, he was able to come and visit us in March, and you see the young man in the middle there, that's Evans. He is Emmanuel's new helper, and he's got a great smile, and he's young and has lots of energy, so maybe he'll help to communicate with us a little better. If you go to the next slide, we have Dismas in Dodoma. Dodoma workshop is about 4-hour drive from where we are in Morogoro. Dismas has done a wonderful job. He has a very big team now. You see him there with a picture of his children and his wife. His wife is a nurse in one of the local government hospitals, and now before that, she had to live in a different place, and now they live together in Dodoma, and she works just a little ways from the workshop, so that's really great for them. We're really happy for them. Can you go back one slide? Thank you. So last year, in 2020, we were able to purchase a big truck for the Dodoma workshop. You see Dismas and his team there. There's lots of them. They've grown quite a lot. They were really excited for that truck. Unfortunately, last week, Todd got a picture.
He said a tree fell on the truck. Okay, and showed pictures of a tree laying right across the cab of the truck. And I'm thinking, how did the tree fall on the truck? Well, the driver was an unlicensed driver, but he was driving in the rural area, so he was practicing. And he miscalculated the box above the cab, and he hit the tree, and it fell on the cab, crashing the windshield and the top of the truck and the door. And so they had to get that all fixed up.
But, yeah, so but the response was the tree fell on the truck, not we hit the tree, and then the tree fell on the truck. But since then, that happened 2 weeks ago, and now we had a picture yesterday or the day before that the truck is actually fixed and usable, so we're really grateful for that. But it did have to be the new truck. Anyways, but no one was hurt, so that's a really great thing. So we're really glad about that. This is Simon. Simon is Dismas's right-hand man. You see him there with his family. Arnold is his son that's with Todd. His other little son was born the week we arrived back here in the U.S., and we don't know his name yet. Typically, I'm sure he has a name by now, but we haven't received that information. Typically, Tanzanians don't name their children immediately. They leave the hospital and they wait a little while to maybe see what the child's going to be like, and then they decide what to name him. That's pretty typical. So that's Simon. We're really grateful to have him. And then, so this year and every year, we have our team come together in March. It's called World Water Day, March 22nd. And this year, we were really blessed to have everyone come from both Dodoma and Bukoba workshops. Our whole team was there. And I had my friend Jenny and her husband, Afadili, who's Tanzanian, do a teaching on personal finances from a biblical perspective. And so we spent 3 days with our team doing that. It was very much needed, and it was very well received. We're really, really excited about how they taught their class and also how the response of our team was. Because, there's never, ever enough money. And so now they have a little bit more tools to figure out how to manage the money that they have. And we've found it's been really a really good training. So we were really blessed to be able to do that. But of course, we also had to have the annual competition of which workshop can make the best water filter. And we had to go to dinner for chicken and chips because that's a big favorite of Tanzanians. Yep. Next slide. I'd also like to talk a little bit about Mkoko Village. Mkoko Village has been a village in our hearts for a very long time. We've been working there for probably 10 years. In various capacities. We teach in the primary school. We certainly do biosand water filter installations and training and that type of thing, but it's a very difficult place. The picture that you see there is the river, which is their main water source, and this year there was lots and lots of crocodiles in the river, so it was very difficult to get the water out. So part of our WASH program was to make scoopers so the children could go down to the river with their big sticks and their scoopers and get the water that they needed. That was Joyce's idea. And go to the next slide. So other things that have happened. In July, just before we came, we had another outreach in Mkoko Village, and this is the Sun Tanzania football team, or soccer team. And there was a big competition. They look really great in their fancy uniforms, don't they? Unfortunately, go to the next slide, please. They did not win.
It was a dismal loss, 3-0. And in soccer term, or in football terms, that's a blowout.
Anyways, but of course, so the village team got the ball, which they were going to get anyways, but that was their prize. So it was a really great day, though, because we were able to explain who Sun was to the whole village, because everyone comes to the football games. The whole village was there watching the game, so it was pretty amazing. Other things that have happened in Tanzania or in Mkoko Village recently, in the last 2 years, is Pastor John and his wife. He's there in the corner. That's not his wife, that's his daughter and his grandchildren. Actually moved into Mkoko Village. He's a pastor. This is a cool story because a new Tanzanian Christian who was a pilot paid to have the church built there, paid the whole thing, and bought the property, paid for the church building, and now he's building a house for the pastor. So we've been praying for this village for a long time. We've had evangelists and pastors move to the village. They stay for a couple months and get all excited, and then they leave. Mkoko Village is a very, very hard place to live. There's lots of witchcraft. There's lots of spiritual warfare that happens, and it's just difficult to be there. And so we're really excited about Pastor John because he's been there for more than 2 years now, and people are starting to think he's going to stay. And that's really great for the village. The man in the middle there, the man sitting on the chair, he's a new convert because of Pastor John. And he has an amazing testimony. However, it was all in Swahili, and it was very difficult to translate it all. So we decided to just show his picture instead. But we're really excited because things are changing. At least we're praying that God will continue to be with Pastor John and his family, and that he will protect them. So we're really, really grateful and excited about that. Yeah. So because of you, all of you here, in our partnerships, things are happening in Tanzania. They continue to happen, and we're so grateful. Todd noticed on the presentation that was probably from the last time we were here, I'm not sure when, the number of water filters has certainly increased. The last 2 months, we've had record installations. In July, it was 170 filters from the 3 workshops, and in August, it was 177. So our team there is really excited, and yes, there is a little competition between the workshops. But usually the Morogoro workshop wins because they have the most people and the most resources, but not always. So we're just really, really grateful to all of you for your support, your financial support, of course, but also your prayer support and just your encouragement. This is what God is doing through you and through us as we serve others in Tanzania. Yeah. All of the workshops have, this is the slide that kind of shows where all the water filters are. If you go to our website, this is interactive, so you can zoom in, and each one of those dots blows up and gets bigger and gets into more dots. So if you want to, if you're really that interested to see, some of the pictures some of the dots have pictures associated with them, not all of them. That's a lot of work to do that for all of them, but we're getting there. Anyways.
If the dots were complete, there would be over 10,000 dots now.
Yeah. So, yeah. So of course, all of this takes resources, lots of resources. These are some of the things just to give you an idea. A biosand water filter costs $100. That includes the materials, the making of the filter, the transportation, the training, and the follow-up. And that's for each filter that's installed. We also very, very much need prayer warriors. We experience a lot of spiritual warfare there. So if any of you that are not on our prayer team or part of that and would like to be, there's a sign-up sheet out in the foyer out there. Please sign your name and we'll make sure to add you to the list. We also have a new title that we're calling Donor Engagement Partners. This is people that will help us to raise awareness about what we're doing in Tanzania and the need for clean water in Tanzania, and help us perhaps raise some money to do that as well. So that's our donor engagement partner. If you're interested in that, please let us know, and we'll be happy to give you some work to do. Other things, washer puberty education costs us about $10 a student or $450 a classroom. Playground equipment for Kids Club, actually, we've had someone donate the $2,000, so we're really, really excited about that. That was a recent happening this week, and so we're going to be able to put some equipment in at that church that I was telling you about, so we're excited for that. We also need some more motorcycles. We have one, and it does a great job. All the young guys love to ride motorcycles, of course, so that means they like to do their job a little better. So we'd like to get a couple more of those. Those cost around $2,000. Just the other things there are just give you an idea of how much it costs for us to have all of these staff members. Those dollar amounts up there just depend. That includes everything. That includes their equivalent of Social Security and all the other benefits and taxes that we have to pay. So yeah.
You're not just supporting the Zimses, you're supporting 22 families over there.
So there's different ways that you can do that. If you aren't familiar, of course, giving to Brighton Christian Church, that's one way, because Brighton Christian has supported us for 18 years. So we're just really, really so blessed and grateful for that. You can donate through PayPal, and if you really want to, you can also just donate directly from one bank account to the other, to the Sun International bank account. So if you want to know more about that, you can talk to us. And we just like to say thank you very much. Asanteni sana. Yeah? Yeah. So we're really, really grateful to be here today. And just kind of to pull it back to what we started talking about at the beginning, how Jesus Christ is the living water. And he is really why we do all of this. Scott was saying we're keeping people alive. Yes, that's true. But without Jesus, it doesn't matter if they're alive, because they really need to know Jesus Christ, the living water. And in the Bible, there are so many, many examples of the living water of Jesus. I'm trying to remember the exact number. I think it's 722 times water is referred to in the Bible. And most of the time, it's about the living water. So if you look at some of these verses, I'd like to, Todd's going to read, let's do this one. Todd's going to read a verse in John, and this is from John 7. Todd?
John 4.
No, this one.
This one, okay. On the last and greatest day of the festival, Jesus stood and said in a loud voice, "Let anyone who is thirsty come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as Scripture has said, rivers of living water will flow from within them."
Yep. So Jesus really is the living water. He even claims it. He claims that if we accept him, the living water will flow out of us. And to help us remember that, we take communion a lot. Some of us do. In Tanzania, we don't do it so much, but I know here you do. And it's really, really important to remember that Jesus paid the price to be that living water, so that we can have the living water flowing out of us. And so as we prepare for communion, if you want to take your elements, Jesus said, while they were eating, Jesus took the bread. I'm waiting for some of you. Yep. While they were eating, Jesus took the bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it. And he gave it. He gave it to his disciples. All of you are disciples of Jesus. And he told them, "Take and eat. This is my body. Take and eat. This is my body." while we were singing earlier today, one of the songs really spoke to me. And it said, the lyrics that I wrote down, because it directly relates to this, it says, "But this I know with all my heart. I know this with all my heart. His wounds have paid my ransom." So as Jesus was wounded, he died on the cross to pay our ransom. He died on the cross to become the living water. Yeah. So as we remember that, let's look at the other words of Jesus where he took a cup, and again he gave thanks. And he gave the cup to them, his disciples, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for the many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." So let's take our cup and drink it. And let's remember that we will be with him someday in his kingdom. And let's remember that it's up to us to invite other people to come. Invite them to come and drink from the living water. And as we close, Todd's going to read from Zechariah.
And on that day, living water will flow from Jerusalem, half of it east to the Dead Sea, and half of it west to the Mediterranean Sea. In summer and in winter, the Lord will be king over the whole earth. On that day, there will be one Lord, and his name, the only name.
So that's our hope. Jesus is our hope. And we do what we do in Tanzania. Brighton Christian invites people to come. We invite people to come because we want everyone to know the Lord. We want everyone to be there with us on that day when he is Lord over all. The last thing that I would like to add is there's a song that the worship team played at the beginning, and they're going to play it again. And this song basically explains why we do what we do. It explains who the living water is and why it's so important. I heard this song a few months ago. My friend played it, and I was so excited because I'd never heard it before. And I'm like, that's my song. That was written just for us in our ministry, which is not true, but it just seems like it. So as things close and at the end of the service, please stay and listen to the words of the song because they're very powerful. Thank you all so very much.